Imagine a humble shepherd boy, overlooked by the world, rising to become one of the greatest kings in history. His journey wasn't easy, filled with battles, betrayal, and moments of despair. But through it all, he held on to one thing: his faith in God. This is the story of David, the man after God's own heart. David's story begins in the fields, where no one expected greatness. He was the youngest of 8 sons, tending sheep while his brothers were off fighting battles. But God saw something in David that no one else did. He sent the prophet Samuel to anoint him as the future king of Israel, not because of David's appearance or status, but because of his heart. 1 Samuel 16:7. The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. This is the foundation of David's life. His heart was fully devoted to God. One of the most iconic moments in David's life was his face-off with the giant Goliath. Goliath wasn't just a physical giant. He represented fear, doubt, and all the challenges that seemed too big to overcome. David, with nothing but a sling and 5 smooth stones, stood against him with faith that God would deliver him. And he did. With 1 stone, David brought down Goliath, showing us that no obstacle is too big when we trust in God's power. 1 Samuel 17:45-47. This moment symbolizes the battles we all face in life, the giants of fear, doubt, and failure. David's victory over Goliath reminds us that with faith, even the most insurmountable challenges can be overcome. David's rise to the throne wasn't immediate. In fact, after being anointed, he spent years running for his life from King Saul, who was consumed with jealousy. David lived in caves, was betrayed by friends, and even had to hide among his enemies. But through every hardship, David held on to his faith. He constantly sought God's guidance, writing many of the Psalms during this time, pouring out his heart to God. Psalm 27:1 reflects his unshakable trust. "The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear?" David's life reminds us that even when we're in the darkest valleys, God is still with us, guiding us toward the purpose He has for us. After years of hardship, David finally became king. But even then, his journey wasn't smooth. He made mistakes, some of them monumental, like his sin with Bathsheba. But what made David stand out was his heart of repentance. When confronted with his sin, David didn't make excuses. He humbled himself before God, asking for forgiveness. Psalm 51 is his prayer of repentance. "Create in me a pure heart, O God, and renew a steadfast spirit within me." Psalm 51:10. This shows us that even when we fall, God is always ready to forgive if we come to Him with a humble heart. Our mistakes don't define us. Our response to them does. David's life is a testament to the power of faith, perseverance, and God's grace. From shepherd boy to king, his story reminds us that God's plans for us are often greater than anything we could imagine. Despite his flaws, David is remembered as a man after God's own heart, Acts 13:22. So what can we learn from David? We learn that God doesn't choose the most qualified, but the most willing. We learn that faith can slay giants. We learn that even in our failures, God's grace is sufficient. David's life shows us that no matter where we start or how many times we fall, with faith in God, we can rise to fulfill the destiny He has for us. So, if you're feeling small, overlooked, or battling giants in your life, remember David's story. God is writing your story too, and no matter how dark it may seem right now, He has a purpose for you. Keep your heart set on Him, and watch as He takes you from the pasture to the palace, just as He did for David.